The massive Imperial starship hung in space like a dark cloud over Earth's moon. Its golden hull reflected sunlight, creating an intimidating display of power. Inside the ship's command center, Admiral Marcus stood with his hands behind his back, looking at the blue planet through the main viewport. "Another primitive world," he said, his voice filled with boredom. "Show me the scan results." A young officer quickly brought up the holographic display. "Sir, we've detected approximately 200 orbital satellites, a small space station, and limited space travel capability. They haven't even colonized their moon yet." Marcus nodded, already losing interest. The Galactic Empire had conquered over 300 star systems, and Earth looked like just another easy addition to their territory. But then something caught his eye in the data stream. "What's this?" he asked, pointing to some unusual readings. The officer looked confused. "Sir, their military activities are extensive. They've had thousands of wars throughout their history. Their weapons development is concerning." Marcus laughed. "Concerning? They can barely reach their own moon. What could they possibly do against our fleet?" Just then, another officer rushed into the command center. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the planet." The main screen lit up, showing a human in a formal military uniform. It was Commander Stone of Earth's United Defense Council. His face was calm, but his eyes held a warning. "Greetings, Imperial forces," Stone said. "We understand this is first contact between our peoples. We wish to establish peaceful relations, but we must also be clear. Earth is not a target for conquest. We strongly advise against any hostile actions." Marcus couldn't help but smile at the human's boldness. "Do you understand who we are? The Galactic Empire spans hundreds of worlds. Your technology is centuries behind ours." Stone's expression didn't change. "Admiral, with respect, technological advancement isn't everything. Humanity has a long history of warfare. We've learned to be creative, adaptive, and extremely dangerous when threatened. This is not a threat, but a warning from one military leader to another." In the following days, Earth's ambassadors tried to make the Empire understand. They shared historical records of human conflicts, showing how smaller forces had defeated larger ones, how guerrilla tactics had overcome superior technology, and how human determination had overcome seemingly impossible odds. But the Empire's leaders saw only what they wanted to see. They measured power in ships, in energy weapons, in faster-than-light drives. They didn't understand that humanity's greatest weapon was its spirit, its creativity, and its ability to unite against outside threats. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, in hardened bunkers around the world, Commander Stone met with the United Defense Council. The room was filled with military leaders from every major nation, all differences set aside in the face of this new threat. "They're not listening," Stone said, looking at the tactical displays showing the Imperial fleet's growing numbers above Earth. "Just as we expected. Activate the Sword of Terra protocol." Around the world, hidden facilities hummed to life. Orbital weapons platforms, disguised as communication satellites, powered up their cloaking systems. Underground hangars opened, revealing spacecraft that the Empire's scans hadn't detected. Every military base on Earth began final preparations for what was coming. "Let them think we're primitive," General Wright said, studying the defense grid activating across the globe. "Let them think we're easy prey. They'll learn soon enough." In orbit, Admiral Marcus prepared his invasion fleet. He had done this hundreds of times before, and this would be no different. These humans, with their brave words and primitive weapons, would soon bow before the Empire like all the others. "Send the final ultimatum," he ordered. "They have 1 day to surrender and accept Imperial rule." As the message was sent, Marcus didn't notice the small changes in Earth's orbital patterns. He didn't see the subtle signs of a civilization that had spent decades preparing for this very moment. He didn't understand that he wasn't facing a primitive species, but rather one that had been forged in the fires of countless conflicts. The humans had warned them. They had tried to prevent what was coming. But now, as Earth's hidden defenses prepared for war, one thing was certain. The Empire was about to learn why humanity had survived every threat it had ever faced. The ultimatum from the Empire hung heavy in the air of the United Defense Council's underground chamber. 24 hours to surrender or face destruction. Around the table, military leaders from across Earth sat in silence, watching the countdown timer on the main screen. Commander Stone stood up, his face lit by the red glow of battle stations activating worldwide. They've made their choice. Begin Operation Dark Shield. Across the globe, hidden military bases sprang to life. In the depths of the Pacific Ocean, massive underwater doors opened, revealing squadrons of stealth spacecraft. Deep in the Siberian wilderness, mountainsides split apart as missile systems emerged from their decades-long hiding places. Beneath the Sahara's burning sands, energy weapon arrays powered up for the first time. Above them all, Admiral Marcus watched Earth with growing impatience. "Their time is almost up," he said to his bridge crew. "Prepare the first wave. We'll target their largest cities first. That usually breaks their will quickly." A junior officer approached with a datapad. "Sir, we're receiving another transmission from Earth. They say it's their final warning." Marcus waved his hand dismissively. "Put it on screen. Let's hear their last desperate plea." The screen showed Diplomat Anderson, his gray hair and weathered face reflecting years of experience in international relations. "Admiral Marcus, we make one final attempt to prevent unnecessary bloodshed. You see our lack of space colonies as weakness. You see our limited space travel as primitive. But you fail to understand something crucial about humanity." Marcus leaned forward, amused. "And what would that be?" "We haven't expanded into space because we've been preparing for this very moment. Every resource, every scientific breakthrough, every technological advancement has gone into planetary defense. We've been watching the stars, waiting, building our strength in secret." Laughter erupted across the Imperial Bridge. Marcus shook his head, grinning. "You expect me to believe that? Your primitive sensors can barely detect our ships." Anderson's face remained serious. "Those are just what we wanted you to see. You have 17 minutes left in your ultimatum. Use them wisely. Retreat." The transmission cut off. Marcus turned to his tactical officer. "Begin the attack sequence. Let's show these humans what real power looks like." Deep under the North American continent, Commander Stone watched as thousands of red dots appeared on the tactical display, the Empire's first attack wave launching from their ships. "They never learn," General Wright said, standing beside him. "Status of Dark Shield. All systems green," Stone replied. "Countermeasures ready. Stealth fields holding. They still can't see 90% of our defenses." The Empire's first wave entered Earth's upper atmosphere. Thousands of Imperial fighters, each one carrying enough firepower to level a city, descended like a swarm of angry wasps. "Sir," an Imperial officer shouted, "we're detecting energy signatures everywhere. They're not matching any known patterns." Marcus stepped forward, his confident smile fading as new data flooded his screens. All across Earth's surface, previously invisible defense systems were powering up. The primitive satellites they detected were shedding their fake casings, revealing advanced weapon platforms. "Impossible," Marcus whispered. In the command center, Stone gave the order they'd practiced for years. "Execute Defense Pattern Alpha. Show them why you don't corner a species that invented nuclear weapons before space travel." The sky lit up as Earth's defense grid activated. Electromagnetic pulses shot upward, shutting down entire squadrons of Imperial fighters. Gravity wells appeared out of nowhere, trapping capital ships in place. Quantum disruptors, technology the Empire thought impossible for humans to possess, began tearing through the Imperial fleet's shields like paper. "Full retreat," Marcus shouted, but it was too late. His first wave, the pride of the Imperial fleet, was being systematically destroyed by defenses that hadn't existed moments ago. From his command post, Stone watched the Imperial ships falling from the sky. Send word to all commands. Operation Dark Shield is successful. Begin Phase 2. He turned to General Wright. We warned them to run. Now we show them why. The battle for Earth had begun, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy why they had survived every threat they had ever faced, not through superior technology, but through preparation, determination, and the willingness to do whatever it took to survive. Admiral Marcus stared at the wreckage of his first attack wave, his face pale with shock. Half of his fighter squadrons were destroyed, and the other half were retreating in chaos. The humans had turned Earth's entire orbit into a killing field. How? He demanded, slamming his fist on the command console. How did we miss this level of technology? His tactical officer worked frantically at his station. Sir, they're using weapons we've never seen before. Their defense grid was completely hidden until it activated. And now we're detecting more ships launching from Earth, from hidden bases across the planet. Humanity's true space fleet emerged. Unlike the primitive vessels the Empire had detected earlier, these ships were sleek, deadly, and powered by technology that shouldn't have been possible for such a primitive species. Commander Stone stood on the bridge of the EDS Defender, Earth's first true battleship, as it rose from its underwater hangar in the Pacific. Battle Group Alpha, form up. Show the Empire what Earth ships can really do. The human fleet moved with unexpected precision. Smaller ships darted between the larger vessels, using tactics that confused the Imperial targeting systems. Earth's ships didn't fight like any force the Empire had encountered before. They fought like guerrilla warriors, striking hard and vanishing before the enemy could respond. In his command ship, Marcus watched in growing horror as his fleet's formation began to break apart. They're not following any standard combat doctrine. Their ships are splitting up into smaller groups, attacking from multiple directions. Sir, his second-in-command reported, we're losing track of their vessels. They seem to be using some kind of adaptive stealth technology. Our sensors can't lock onto them. Deep in the Himalayan command center, General Wright coordinated the global defense network. Holographic displays showed the battle unfolding in space, with Earth's forces executing perfectly planned strategies that had been developed over decades. Launch the drone swarms, Wright ordered. Across Earth, millions of tiny combat drones took flight, each one barely larger than a human hand. The Empire's sensors had dismissed them as space debris, but now they activated as one, surrounding Imperial ships like angry bees. This is impossible. An Imperial captain screamed over the comm channel as his ship's systems began failing. The human drones were attaching themselves to Imperial vessels, disrupting shields, destroying sensors, and causing chaos throughout the fleet. Stone watched from his command chair as the battle unfolded exactly as they had planned. Humanity learned long ago that you don't need to be stronger than your enemy, he said to his crew. You just need to be smarter, more adaptable, and willing to fight dirty when necessary. The Empire's rigid battle formations began to crumble as human ships darted between their lines, striking critical systems and disappearing before the massive Imperial vessels could turn to respond. Earth's defenders fought like their ancestors, not like an organized army, but like resistance fighters who knew every inch of their territory. They're retreating. Someone shouted in the Global Command Center. On the main display, the Imperial fleet was pulling back, their neat formations shattered, dozens of their ships damaged or destroyed. Marcus stood in his command center, watching his mighty fleet retreat from what should have been an easy conquest. This isn't possible, he whispered. They were supposed to be primitive. Their technology. Sir, his tactical officer interrupted. We're detecting more ships launching from Earth, and something's happening to their moon. The surface of Earth's moon began to shift, revealing massive weapon installations that had been hidden beneath its surface. Humanity's biggest guns, concealed on their lifeless satellite, were finally revealing themselves. We didn't put weapons in space, Admiral Marcus. Stone's voice came over all Imperial channels. We put them where you wouldn't look. And that's just the beginning of what humanity can do when threatened. Would you like to see more? The first wave of the Empire's invasion had failed completely. But as the Imperial ships retreated to regroup, everyone knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had revealed some of its secrets, but not all of them. The real war was about to begin. In the Empire's Central Military Academy on their homeworld, the top analysts gathered around a holographic display showing Earth's defense systems. They had been studying the footage from their failed invasion for 3 days straight, and nothing made sense. "Look at this again," said Chief Analyst Wilson, an Imperial officer who had studied military tactics for 40 years. "They're using old radio waves to confuse our advanced communication systems. Something so primitive shouldn't work, but it does." The room fell silent as they watched another recording. A small human ship was flying directly at an Imperial cruiser. By all logic, it should have been destroyed instantly. Instead, it released what looked like simple metal balls into space. The balls split apart into thousands of tiny pieces, creating a cloud of debris that shredded the cruiser's sensor arrays. "They're not fighting according to any known doctrine," another analyst said, shaking his head. "They're fighting like animals backed into a corner." Back on his command ship, Admiral Marcus reviewed the casualty reports with growing concern. He had lost more ships in one day than the Empire had lost in the last 50 years combined. His superiors were demanding answers. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "you need to see this. The humans, they're using their own civilian ships as weapons." The main screen showed ordinary Earth cargo vessels approaching Imperial positions, but these ships had been stripped down and packed with explosives. They looked harmless until the last moment, when they would suddenly accelerate into Imperial ships, causing massive damage. In Earth's orbital defense station, Commander Stone watched as his forces continued to frustrate the Empire's attempts to establish a blockade. "Send in the next wave of decoys," he ordered. Dozens of fake warships, actually inflatable structures with simple heat signatures, launched from Earth. The Empire's ships wasted time and resources attacking these decoys, while real Earth vessels struck from unexpected directions. "They're adapting too quickly," an Imperial commander reported to Marcus. "Every time we develop a counter to one of their tactics, they've already changed their approach. It's like they're not afraid to throw away their original plans and try something completely new." Deep underwater, in one of Earth's hidden shipyards, General Wright inspected their latest weapon. It looked like an ordinary asteroid, but inside it was hollow, filled with Earth's most advanced stealth technology. "The Empire thinks we're predictable," Wright said to his engineers. "They expect us to either advance or retreat. They don't understand that humans can do both at the same time." In orbit, Imperial ships continued to fall into human traps. Some were caught in nets made of simple steel cables that tangled their engines. Others were disabled by concentrated beams of microwaves, technology the Empire had abandoned centuries ago as obsolete. "Sir," Marcus's second-in-command burst into his quarters. "The humans, they're using their own weather as a weapon." The tactical display showed how Earth's forces had seeded clouds with special particles, creating electromagnetic storms that disrupted Imperial sensors. They were literally turning their planet's atmosphere into a weapon. In the Empire's War College, the analysts were reaching a disturbing conclusion. "We've never faced an enemy like this," Wilson admitted. "They don't fight like a civilization that's trying to protect its status. They fight like one that's fighting for survival, and they've been preparing for this moment for generations." Commander Stone stood in Earth's main command center, watching as another Imperial attack force fell back in disarray. "Send the message to all commands," he ordered. "Operation Thunderbolt begins in 6 hours." A young officer looked up from her station. "Sir, the Empire is broadcasting on all frequencies. They're demanding to know how we're doing this." Stone allowed himself a small smile. "Tell them what they already know. We're human. We've spent our entire history fighting ourselves and surviving against impossible odds. Did they really think we wouldn't be ready for them? Across space, the Empire's mighty fleet faced a terrible realization. They hadn't found a primitive species ready to be conquered. They had found humanity. And humanity had been waiting for them. Operation Thunderbolt began at exactly midnight Greenwich Mean Time. Across Earth, every hidden military base activated at once. But this time, they weren't defending. They were attacking. Admiral Marcus stood frozen as his tactical display lit up with thousands of new contacts. The humans weren't just launching ships. They were revealing an entire battle fleet that had been hiding behind their moon. "Sir," his communications officer called out, voice shaking. "We're detecting human ships appearing everywhere. They're using some kind of advanced jump technology." In Earth's command center, Commander Stone watched as humanity's true space fleet revealed itself. "All ships, execute jump pattern Delta. Show them what Earth's scientists have really been working on all these years." The human ships seemed to flicker and vanish, reappearing instantly at different points in space. It was technology the Empire had never mastered. The ability to make short, precise jumps without the need for massive jump engines. Impossible. Marcus shouted as human vessels appeared inside his fleet's formation. Our sensors would have detected the energy buildup for such jumps. But humanity had learned to do it differently. Their ships carried hundreds of small jump drives instead of one large one. Each one barely registered on Imperial sensors, but together they could move an entire fleet. In the Imperial Palace, the High Command was in chaos. Reports were flooding in from across their empire. Earth wasn't just defending itself. It was attacking Imperial supply lines, communication centers, and forward bases. "How are they finding our secret installations?" demanded the Imperial commander. "Those locations are hidden even from most of our own forces." The answer came from a junior intelligence officer. "Sir, they're using our own civilian communications network against us. They've hacked into it and are tracking our ship's routine transmissions." Back on Earth, General Wright coordinated with resistance forces that had already infiltrated Imperial territory. "Teams 1 through 7, begin your attacks. Show them why humans are the galaxy's best saboteurs." Across Imperial space, carefully placed human agents activated their hidden weapons. Space stations lost power. Defense shields failed. Supply ships found their navigation systems compromised. It was as if the Empire's entire infrastructure was falling apart at once. "Admiral Marcus," a voice crackled over his command ship speakers. It was Commander Stone. "Are you ready to discuss terms, or should we continue?" Marcus gripped his command chair as another explosion rocked his ship. His fleet was in shambles, surrounded by human vessels that seemed to appear and disappear at will. "This is a trick," he muttered. "Some kind of primitive deception." "No trick, Admiral," Stone replied. "Just good old human ingenuity. Did you really think we spent the last century only looking at our own solar system? Our stealth ships have been mapping your empire for decades." In the Imperial High Command, the reality was finally sinking in. Reports were coming in from dozens of worlds. The humans weren't just defending Earth. They were systematically dismantling the Empire's entire military infrastructure. 50 supply depots destroyed. An officer reported. 30 communication hubs disabled. 15 shipyards under attack. "Sir, we're losing control of the entire sector." Commander Stone stood on his bridge, watching the Imperial fleet break apart under the human assault. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "Phase 2 of Operation Thunderbolt begins now. Target their command and control centers. Let's show them what happens when you corner a species that turned nuclear physics into a weapon before they even reached space." The Empire's mighty war machine, which had conquered 300 worlds, was facing something it had never encountered before, a species that had spent its entire history preparing for this very moment. And humanity was just getting started. The Imperial Palace shook as another explosion lit up the night sky. On dozens of screens, reports showed human ships appearing throughout Imperial space. Not just military vessels, but massive colony ships that seemed to emerge from nowhere. They're not just fighting us, an Imperial advisor realized with horror. They're claiming territory. They've been planning to expand all along. Admiral Marcus watched from his damaged flagship as human forces systematically took control of key strategic positions throughout the sector. His mighty fleet, once the pride of the Empire, now lay scattered and broken across space. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the humans are using our own shipping lanes. They've decoded our navigation networks completely. They're moving faster through our territory than our own ships." In the Earth Command Center, Commander Stone coordinated the massive human expansion. All colony ships proceed as planned. Show the Empire that while they were building weapons, we were preparing to build homes among the stars. The human ships moved with incredible precision. Each jump took them deeper into Imperial space. But they weren't just conquering. They were establishing permanent bases, setting up defense networks, and securing resources. "This is impossible," Marcus shouted as another report came in. "How are they establishing colonies so quickly?" The answer was simple but brilliant. Earth's colony ships were actually massive factories, complete with automated manufacturing systems. As soon as they secured a position, they began producing everything they needed. The humans weren't just taking territory. They were there to stay. General Wright stood on the bridge of humanity's newest battleship, watching as his forces secured another strategic position. "Launch the mining drones," he ordered. "Let's show the Empire how humans handle resource extraction." Swarms of automated mining vessels spread out across asteroid fields and uninhabited planets. Unlike the Empire's careful, methodical mining operations, human drones worked with desperate efficiency, stripping resources at an unprecedented rate. "Sir," an Imperial mining overseer reported to the High Command, "the humans are gathering more resources in days than we collect in months. Their methods are crude, but incredibly effective." In orbit around a contested planet, a group of Imperial cruisers faced off against a smaller human fleet. The Empire still had superior numbers, but numbers meant less and less as the battle progressed. Human ships danced between their larger adversaries, their smaller size and greater maneuverability turning the battle into a deadly game of cat and mouse. "They're not following any known combat doctrine," an Imperial captain reported before his ship went dark. "Every vessel fights differently. There's no pattern to predict." Commander Stone reviewed the latest battle reports with satisfaction. "Send word to all commands. Begin Phase 3. Show them why humanity never stopped improving our weapons, even when we were only fighting ourselves." Across Imperial space, human forces deployed technologies that the Empire had never seen before. Quantum disruptors that could shut down entire defense grids. Gravity weapons that could tear ships apart from the inside. Computer viruses that could turn Imperial automation against itself. "They're not just beating us," Marcus realized as he watched another Imperial fleet retreat. "They're studying us, learning our weaknesses, and adapting their tactics with every battle." In the Imperial High Command, panic was setting in. The humans weren't just pushing them back. They were systematically dismantling everything the Empire had built. And worse, several Imperial worlds were beginning to side with the humans, impressed by their technological innovation and rapid expansion. "Send the message to all commands," Stone ordered as human forces secured another sector. The Empire wanted to see humanity's true power. Well, now they're seeing it, and we're just getting warmed up. The tables had turned completely. The Empire, which had fought to add Earth as just another conquest, now found itself fighting for survival against a species that had spent centuries preparing for this moment. And as human ships pushed deeper into Imperial space, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a war of survival anymore. It was humanity's debut on the galactic stage. The Imperial Palace's grand throne room, once a symbol of absolute power, now served as an emergency command center. Frantic officials rushed between holographic displays showing the collapse of their empire. In just 3 months, humanity had done what no species had managed in 1,000 years. "Another sector has fallen," an aide reported. his voice trembling. The humans aren't even fighting anymore in some areas. Imperial worlds are surrendering as soon as their ships appear. Admiral Marcus stood before the Imperial Council, his once pristine uniform now worn and dirty. We were wrong about them, he admitted, his pride finally broken. They weren't primitive. They were patient. They were preparing. On the main display, human ships appeared over another Imperial world. But instead of weapons, they deployed massive humanitarian aid stations. They weren't just conquering. They were helping, rebuilding, improving. Commander Stone walked through the halls of the newly established human embassy on the Empire's capital world. "Send word to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them to begin Phase 4. The Peace Initiative." Across former Imperial space, human medical ships brought advanced treatments to worlds the Empire had neglected. Engineering teams helped rebuild infrastructure with new, more efficient designs. Trade routes opened up, bringing prosperity to planets that had only known Imperial taxation. "They're not acting like conquerors," an Imperial governor observed, watching human aid workers help his people. "They're acting like they've been waiting to meet us, to help us." In Earth's command center, General Wright reviewed the latest reports. 90% of Imperial military assets have either surrendered or been neutralized, he announced. Their remaining forces are standing down. The Imperial Council gathered for its final session. The choice before them was clear: continue a hopeless war, or accept humanity's surprisingly generous peace terms. These terms, the head counselor read aloud. Earth demands only recognition of human sovereignty, free trade agreements, and the right to help modernize Imperial worlds. They're not even asking for reparations. Admiral Marcus, now stripped of his command, watched from a holding cell of his human ships help repair the damage his forces had caused. "We could have been allies," he realized. "They tried to tell us, but we wouldn't listen." Commander Stone stood on the observation deck of his flagship, watching the sun rise over the Imperial capital. A young officer approached with a datapad. "Sir, the last Imperial holdouts have surrendered. The war is officially over." Stone nodded, remembering the day the Empire first appeared over Earth. "Send a message to all human forces. Operation New Dawn is now in effect. Show them why humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons. It's our ability to forgive and rebuild." Across the former Empire, a new era began. Human technology and innovation spread rapidly. Imperial worlds found themselves advancing centuries in just a few years. The rigid hierarchies of the Empire gave way to a new system of cooperation and mutual benefit. In the new Galactic Assembly, where all worlds now had equal representation, the head counselor addressed the gathered delegates. "We thought humanity was primitive because they hadn't spread across the stars. We didn't understand that they were building something greater, a foundation for true galactic civilization." On Earth, in the same underground bunker where they had planned their defense, Commander Stone met with the United Defense Council one last time. "The war is over," he announced. "But our real work is just beginning. We showed them humanity's strength in war. Now let's show them our strength in peace." The story of humanity's first galactic war became legend across the stars. Not because of the fighting, but because of what came after. The species that had been dismissed as primitive had not only defeated the greatest empire in known space, they had made it better. The Empire had wanted to conquer humanity. Instead, humanity had lifted them up, shown them a better way, and turned enemies into allies. It was a lesson the galaxy would never forget. Never underestimate humans, not because of their weapons, but because of their capacity to turn victory into prosperity for all.